Hello and welcome to Chords on Fire. This is our first show. I'm the host, Tyson Allison. We're here at Igloo Black in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And I'm happy to have our first guest ever on our first show here, Nathan Honore. And he is a Milwaukee musician playing under the name Next Paperback Hero. And he's just put an album out called Morning Skies and Heavy Eyes. And in my opinion, I think it's your best work so far.
Oh, thanks, man.
And I think the accolades are rolling in, well-deserved.
Thank you.
I've heard you on 88.9 and recently saw the 3 nominations from the Radio Milwaukee Music Awards. And that's great. You know, I mean, I've known you for a little while and, seen you put out a couple EPs and some singles, and now we've got the whole record and the recognition's coming in. You know, how, dumb question, but how is it feeling?
Overall, it feels really, really good. This is definitely like something I've been working towards for a long time. Like doing an album itself has always kind of been a goal, and I never really come close before, and it felt really good to just accomplish that and say this is the work, and I'm really proud of it and have it out in the world. That all feels great, but to have the circle kind of complete by having some the feedback has been really gratifying and really helps just make it feel just more well-rounded as an experience. Like, haven't been able to play, so it's like being able to see those things from some people I've never met, or all those things. It makes a big difference. So yeah, feels pretty good right now.
Yeah, that's great. It's I mean, just the title in and of itself is kind of catches me. I mean, it's, you've kind of got this duality thing going on with, I would think like the hope of, morning skies. I picture the sun being out, which always makes me kind of feel more positive about a new day.
Yeah.
And, but then you've got the heavy eyes on the other side, which I feel like, I totally know what you're talking about. I've felt that before. To me, it's kind of a, almost an exhaustion of sorts of like what you may or may not have been dealing with lately. I was wondering if this was, is this a lockdown project? Was it a COVID album, or where were you in the process of all of that?
Yes and no. Like, there's 9 songs on the record, and I know for sure, like, cleanly 4 were written during, the first months of lockdown. Like, so from probably April to like June or July, it was when the last 4 songs of the album were written, and I had started experimenting with tracking and seeing what it would sound like if I tried to record an album on my own. Like, that was a big reason I never had before, is because it always felt like if I didn't have the resources or the financing to go through with like a studio the whole thing, like go in, record it proper in like a real place, like I just shouldn't do it. Like, if you can't do it right, don't do it at all. So when like COVID happened, it just gave me a lot more time to think about like what can I do with what I have.
Sure.
And like, I may not be amazing with like recording techniques and stuff like that, but I do have skills. Like, I can do some things.
Yeah.
So what can I do with that, and like and take it as far as I can go. And I knew right from the start, like, I would I knew I was going to have this like professionally mixed, which I've never done before. I'd always figured
Okay.
I can do what I can do, and that's good enough.
Yeah.
And then had it mastered as well. So like those things really helped take it from like the bedroom recording to something that feels a little bit more substantial. But yeah, like in terms of being like the COVID record, definitely written half in there, and then all recorded during like probably from April to I think I wrapped up kind of December 2020, and that was kind of just some extra overdubs and stuff like that. But the bulk of it was in like that first 5-6 months.
Okay. So you did record pretty much all of it at your house?
Yeah, all of it was recorded at home.
Yeah.
With
It sounds really good.
57
man.
and a 58.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Which I kind of did as like, well, these are what I have, but also as kind of like kind of proving that these tools can't like these can really hold up, and like these can do a thing. Like my buddy Nick Zulik did the saxophone on it, and like I don't know what he used. He used something much more expensive than a 57 or 58, I'm sure. But everything that I recorded was recorded with those two.
Wow, that's really cool. Because I mean, it sounds really good. It sounds very full, big. You know, it's got a nice landscape, sonic landscape to it. So your buddy Nick played saxophone.
Mm-hmm.
I know you're a multi-instrumentalist. So is that you playing everything else, or do you have any other collaborators, or?
Yeah, it's Nick Zulik. He's an incredible saxophone player. I went to we were college roommates, so he does a lot in Chicago right now, and I got him to play saxophone on a couple of tracks. My brother AJ, he plays trumpet on a couple tracks. And then Ian Olvera, who mixed the record, he added some Juno onto one of them as well. But everything else was me.
Ah, that's great.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got a really good ear for embellishments and, adding those extra parts that they make a huge difference. I mean, there's a lot of glue, that can really, bolster up a song and just kind of fatten it out and make those extra hooks in there sometimes, or
and that's something that I feel like has been lacking in like previous recordings. Like I was not able to find that glue like myself. Like I know I'm not a great lead guitar player. I'm usually much more like melody based, and like if that's the thing where things are kind of pointed at. But for some reason, I think it was probably the time I was able to take with the recording process. I was able to play around more and find a few more of those things that fill in like the gaps. So I'm really, really glad that you say that, because that's something I've been like, let's kind of take things to the next level with that side of things.
Yeah, no, I really think you did. I mean, I think I've heard all your past EPs and whatnot, and I mean, this definitely is like a next level kind of thing that you've done. I mean, it's really cool for me to hear that you did all that extra stuff on there. I mean, it is really thick. I mean, I can hear piano. I know there's a banjo in there somewhere. There's some synth, all the extra vocals. So that's, I mean, it does make a huge difference, and kind of, you come out with a very, well-produced, full-sounding album.
Well, thank you.
So yeah, I mean, it's great, and I feel like you're touching on a lot of concepts in those 9 songs. I mean, there's definitely a maturation, I think, and a growth that maybe it's you as an artist, going from here to there, comparatively, like from past albums to this one. There's definitely, some comments, I think, on like political climate here and there. I hear some social media I don't know if it's satire or not, but definitely something in there. And I don't know if you had any other like big themes for you writing those songs that, you know, I haven't touched on, but do you feel that way, or?
Yeah, and I definitely try not to be shy about anything that I was like trying to say. Like nothing, I didn't want it to be too hidden. Like especially there's some not so veiled language about the political climate. Like, and I didn't want to dress that up and make it more poetic. Like it just needed to be what it was going to be.
Yeah.
In terms of like other themes, like it all does kind of tie back to like that hope and hopelessness. Like, and that's that's how I talk about it a lot, is riding that line between hope and hopelessness, is where you feel like either stagnant or there's no place to go, but you're also trying to take one step at a time. Like there's a very fine line in between those like two mindsets. Neither of them are overly positive or negative. It's but they can certainly go either way if you follow like either path. So that's I feel like the bookends of the record being Face My Time and Don't Take My Energy, they're kind of they are the opposite ends of the spectrum. Whereas like Don't Take My Energy to end the record has that like that extra spark that is kind of like serves as like a jumping off point for whatever. Like it's more open to possibility versus like Face My Time is more resigned as like this is what things are right now. I need to like look in the mirror and say, okay, what the hell comes next? Like, I think a lot of us were doing that during this time, and I think, I think you captured that in there with, maybe hope and hopelessness is the perfect way to say, kind of what a lot of people were feeling, and during this, this chunk of time where we're all, in fear of, like, wow, if I leave my house, something bad might happen to me. You just never know what to do anymore. I mean, there's things that you can do, and like maybe looking for new things or smaller things that can still make you happy. Just going outside by yourself. Or just going to a park and walking around, or whatever, whatever you can do that like breaks that kind of scared feeling of just like, I'm just ensconced in my house. I don't know what else to do. And that is exactly how like those 4 songs were like written, is by me going outside, going to like Seven Bridges and walking down there and like having my phone and using the voice memos and like having that space to like think and breathe. And I think that's probably the big reason why there is any like hope on the record at all. Like, not that this was ever supposed to be a COVID record, but like some of these songs have been in the works for like 2 or 3 years, like prior to March of 2020. But having that to go outside and have it be what I needed it to be. Like I needed to get outside and enjoy that thing that previously like overlooked, or be like, oh yeah, I'm good, I'll just stay inside. But like where I had to get out, and it did provide that source of light,
Yeah, that's great. I mean, it seems, I don't want to pigeonhole this as a COVID record or anything. I just kind of wanted to ask about the timeline and how much influence it had on on the writing, but I think everyone handled it in their own way, and hearing you talk about what you did it's inspiring. It's good to see an artist turn to their art and just dig deeper into it. I mean, I was off for a while too, and I just started like doing a bunch of stuff down here in the basement, just all these random projects and like hanging out with my son and stuff like that. And it was good, you know, and I didn't know how long it was going to be.
Yeah.
And when it was over, I kind of wished I could like rewind it and do it again, knowing how much time I was going to have.
Sure.
You know, because I think I would have done things differently, you know, but it's all relative though. I mean, everyone's got like their own situation, and some people didn't get to, you know, have any off time or whatever, you know. It's just a crazy situation, but I'm happy it allowed you to grab some time and, you know, really dig into this record.
Yeah, and
Get it out there.
I saw a lot of peers who were very vocal about not making art, like that they were just turning their back is kind of a harsh way of putting it, but that's kind of how it felt from where I was sitting. Like if see somebody tweet about like, there's no way I'm writing anything during this, like rejecting it, rejecting that part of them, rejecting the process. And it became very clear to me, like, I have to do this. Like, this is like, I don't just get to say, no, I'm feeling too shitty today to do anything. Like,
Yeah.
no, like this is not only how I like am processing things, but it's giving me voice, and it's giving me purpose. Like, had started to have like a routine of like, you know, we have a dog, so we're up at 6 o'clock every morning. So like between 7 and like 9 a.m. is when I would work on the record, like no matter what, whether I was trying to play this stupid bass line for 2 hours that I can't get right, or for like a week straight, or if that was just like some quality tracking or whatever, like that was the time. And
Yeah.
I wasn't doing it out of spite, but like seeing so many people just say, I'm not doing this, it's like, well, I am, and I'm going to make the most of what this is, you know, or going to try to.
Yeah. You got on the writer's discipline.
A bit. I started morning pages, which I'd never done before.
Yeah.
I did that for, I think, about a year and a half, like solid every morning, and I'd never done anything like that before, and that was part of like that process too. Like it definitely, like in retrospect, I'm like, yeah, I was doing that. I'm gonna go to my desk and do the thing. I wasn't like consciously doing that necessarily, but like, yeah, but I don't do that now, which is weird. I kind of wish I was, but I'm not.
Okay, yeah.
Falling out of it.
Well, you know, maybe it's just like another tool you discovered that you could get back into.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
And it'll, you know, lead to something else. I mean, I think from what I've kind of read about that type of thing, it's, you know, you always get something out of it. You know, if you have that, like you said, a 2-hour window or something, whether it's a song idea or you wrote down a concept that meant nothing that day, but other things could happen during the day that you just keep coming back to, and then you turn it into something the next day or something like that. It leads to productivity, like either way.
Yeah.
So that's cool. What's were you like listening to any particular records while you were making this album?
Yeah. I was definitely like, I was really searching for what I wanted to sound like, because for a lot of like previous work, I'd been kind of holding myself to like this standard of like, can I ever replicate this in a live setting or whatever, like, or this is what it is, or this is way too far the other way, like a land of extremes, like either nothing or everything. And I was like, well, what do I really want it to sound like without worrying about anything? So I was trying to like figure out some reference points, and it's like some things I kept on coming back to were like, well, okay, right now I'm really, really feeling like White Blood Cells and like the early White Stripes stuff, and I'm really like early Elliott Smith is really hitting me right now.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily the melancholy of the songs that's doing it. There's something else, and like what's the through line between all of that? And I was coming up with like, well, it's kind of raw, but they're very purposeful with all of their details that are there. Like, there's nothing wasted in either of those like artists' recordings. Like, everything is very within its place, I feel. And so like early White Stripes, Elliott Smith were big ones, and then just over the last couple of years I started listening to the National, because I don't know, I kind of just like said, okay. Like, I don't know if I'd ever listened to any of their songs before, but it was part of this like group of bands, I think, that were coming up when I was in college that I just kind of rejected. I'm like, like I'm not interested. I'm not looking for anything new right now. Like them and like Vampire Weekend, and like there's a handful of others that I'm just coming back to now. But National has been a big one, especially because Matt Berninger, the lead singer, he's just got the voice that it really resonates with me. Like the way he sings, it can be so delicate, but because he has that baritone, like it has like more resonance and like heftiness to it in a way. Like, he can ride these very interesting lines, and like, I guess just saying all three of those out loud, like Elliott Smith, Jack White, and like Matt Berninger, that these are very distinctive voices that are nothing alike, you know, like they kind of go all over the spectrum, but maybe that's part of the beauty of it, and owning that individuality of like, this is what your voice is, so how can you use it like to the best of your abilities. You know?
And you've definitely got that baritone thing happening, and that's kind of funny you mentioned that, because my wife is always telling me I should listen to the National, and I just haven't really yet, but she's like, you should listen to him, like it's up your alley, you know, with the kind of stuff I do usually, or, you know, arrangement wise or whatever. And I also think it's probably also because they're like slightly older.
That doesn't hurt, like the connection right now.
And so am I, you know?
I don't hate latching on to an artist that's older than me, or that is, you know, within my, like, we could have maybe gone to high school together. You would have been, you know, senior when I was a freshman or something like that.
Yeah. So I feel like I have a second vote on that now, that I should check that out.
I do feel like it's something you have to, if you don't get on right away, you probably need to find a way into yourself. Like, Ian just was telling, like, when we were talking about the record, he had just started listening to the National probably a couple months before we started talking about doing this together. And his entry point was like their newest work, and mine was like a random song that's like number 8 on their third record or something like that. And he absolutely loved the first, like, this newest thing that they had just done. And I was like, yeah, that's all right for me. Like, everything else prior to that is what was really hitting me hard.
Oh, sure.
So I think that their catalog is set up in such a way where you may not, depending on where you jump in, it may not resonate with you right away.
Sure.
But I don't know. It's a weird thing. Now I'm going down the National rabbit hole.
Yeah. That's all right. Well, let's stay above ground and reset back out for a second here. Although, you know, I've known you for a while, I actually didn't know. Are you from Milwaukee?
Yeah. The house that I like first grew up in is like right behind Blues Egg off 76 and
Oh,
like
okay.
Blue Mound.
Yeah,
So
okay.
it's like this weird little pocket of Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where we were till I was 4 years old, and then moved to Arizona, and then came back and was in
Wow.
West Dallas for second grade through most of college.
Huh. That's an interesting move. What brought you guys back?
I don't know. I think my parents just I think they missed family and
Okay.
found gigs back here.
Yeah.
Like there was nobody out, and they were out. I think we lived in a place called Gilbert, Arizona. That's like now like a suburb of Phoenix, but there wasn't a lot going on back in like 92, 93 there. Like it's not as developed as it is now.
Okay.
And we had no family there, so
Yeah.
I think that's what brought them back.
Sure. So I know you mentioned earlier your brother plays trumpet.
Mm-hmm.
What were your like musical beginnings? Like, does more of your family play instruments, or how did you stumble upon it?
Yeah, both my parents are church musicians, or at least
Okay.
were for most of their careers.
Mhm.
So they're both piano and organists, and they studied like low brass as like their primary before they got into that. So my brother Aaron plays trumpet, and then our other brother Matthew, he played trombone. And then when I was in 5th grade, they had me start on like baritone, which led to tuba, and that's what I did. I thought I was going to be a career for that. I actually went to college for that to start.
Wow.
But while all that was happening with like brass, I was trying to teach myself how to play guitar. When I was 13, I started to try and figure that out, and then playing at church for Dad, and really got me into a routine of playing and like learning new chords and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of the entry points was church, unfortunately.
Well, it's cool that you had a household of music
Mm-hmm.
going on and surrounding you all the time. So that's great. You know, seems like it kind of fortified you or got you interested. And what was there like a spark point or something for songwriting?
Sort of. It's only in like retrospect, but like when I was trying to learn guitar, I was using my dad's. He had the complete Beatles book that not only had like the chord shapes written out above, but all the lyrics and the notation as well.
I had one of those too.
That was like the Bible. Like,
It was.
That's how I would just figured out how to play so many chords.
Yeah.
So like while I was trying to do that, it never dawned on me that you don't write music. Like if it felt like if I have a guitar, I should be writing with it. Like so I pretty quickly, as soon as I could figure out a few chords, started writing my own stuff. So it just didn't seem like a choice. It was just like, this is what you do. This is how the Beatles did it. So I guess this is what I do.
So did you really start around 5th grade? Was it one of those situations where like here's what happened with me, like 5th grade also, like we're in the cafeteria and the band instructor comes in and he's got the mouthpieces for a trumpet and a tuba
Yeah.
and something else, and he was just handing them down the line and having kids like, you know, which I can't even imagine that happening nowadays. But that was kind of like my school introduction to it, and he told me, you know, he's like, I like the sound you made with that tuba mouthpiece, and I was like, I remember saying like, well, I want to play drums. And that's what I did for a long time, actually. But did you have that kind of scenario too, or was it slightly different with your your fifth grade introduction?
Slightly different because we didn't have there was no band program at the school that I went to. So my parents had always had like private lessons for my brothers, but like they had already established like that's a thing, you know, because there just wasn't band offered, and my mom had a baritone, so it's like Aaron and Matthew already play trumpet and trombone, so you're going to play the other thing that we don't have in the house. I didn't really have a choice. Yeah. I don't, which they deny. Like now, I've asked them about this, like because of course I wanted to play drums. Like I did play like some percussion in like church sometimes too, but like I wanted to play the drums. Like I wanted to play anything that I could hit, and they just said no. But they deny any knowledge of that. They their memory is conveniently fuzzy.
Nice.
About that period.
Yeah. So what was the time gap between starting out on baritone and then like picking out Beatles songs on guitar?
Like in 8th grade, I remember going to my friend John Angeli's house, and he had an electric guitar that he couldn't play. And he just like, he was one of the only other kids in my class who really liked, well, at the time, Laser 103. And so we would play, he would put on like Rammstein and like Metallica. And like one day I picked up his guitar, and I just kind of was like hitting the bottom string and trying to work my way around and try to follow the songs, and it was really fun. And I have no recollection of how many, if I had got anything right, but it felt really, really freaking good. So like I started lobbying to my parents that I needed to play bass, and like because that was cheaper as well, at least like for what I was looking for. So for like I think my 13th birthday, they caved and got me like a bass and like this terrible video VHS like of how to play bass that taught you how to slap bass, and like that's about it. It was terrible.
Yeah.
But I did that. I played bass, and then like my dad had an acoustic in the closet, and we would like sneak that out, even though I don't know if it was like forbidden that we do that, but it felt like it. So started taking that out of the closet when they weren't around, and then finding that Beatles book, and like, so probably about 14 years old is when that whole process started, and consciously writing songs maybe 14 or 15. So how old are you in 5th grade? Like 9, 10?
Yeah, something like that. So,
yeah, like 4 years or so between those.
All right. Yeah. What's your writing style nowadays? Like, what do you draw from to find lyrics and maybe sounds to what's I don't know. I suspect you go inward. Yeah. Somewhat.
Yeah, I'm kind of like in a weird spot with writing. I haven't been writing a whole lot lately, just because it felt like my entire, like over the last 6 to 8 months, my routine has changed a whole lot. Like just daily, how things go about. So I haven't found like a great, reliable way of writing right now. Something that I recently discovered though, like especially during the early parts of the pandemic, was that I don't always need a guitar in front of me to start. Like before, I would always start with chords and then find a melody and then quickly scribble out lyrics. Like they were always last, and they had to fit in like perfectly to the melody that I'd created. Like all the syllables had to be just perfect. And I didn't edit that much. Like I didn't think that I could like edit the melodies or whatever. It was very rare that things went more than like write verse 1, verse 2, verse 3 in a chorus, and I'm done. Like there was nothing else beyond that. But like starting to use like the voice memo thing and just walking, even on dog walks, because I don't walk with like listening to podcasts or anything. It's just I just am present. I try to be present in those moments, and that's actually unlocked a lot of songs. Has been just
Nice. Yeah.
starting with like a phrase or like a musical phrase, like a maybe more melodic element, and then going to find a couple of words that make sense, or vice versa. Like those two intro things are kind of interchangeable sometimes. Like sometimes there's a clear melody, like, or a melodic shape I want to try that I'm like I've noticed that I'll always start on like the fifth, like I'm always there. All right, let's try something else, and like start with a giant leap and like see what happens. And then
Sure.
yeah, then lyrics have been coming pretty naturally in terms of just outpouring of just whatever is happening. And like I said, like about the political stuff, just in general, trying not to make it too poetic. Like not trying to be,
Yeah.
you know, grand with anything, but like at the same time, it needs to feel authentic and it needs to feel like me, and that I would say this thing out loud. Like if I can't say it out loud, I probably shouldn't sing it. That's kind of where I've like landed,
Right.
you know. So it's those have been the most like reliable ways of writing over the last couple of years that I've really enjoyed. And then like after all that, flesh out a voice memo with maybe a couple verses, and then taking it to a guitar and finding the chords. Like kind of flipping the script on how I used to do things.
Okay. Yeah. So I was thinking and remembering, I don't remember what year it was, but, you know, back in the day for a hot minute, I was playing with you in Of the North, which, if I remember right, had, I want to say 6 people in it.
1.7, I think.
At 1.7. And then after that ended, you started the Whiskey Doubles, and there was 4. And now you are you, down to solo Nathan. Did you have any kind of epiphany or just complete change of style, or just like what you wanted to do that brought you from kind of like a large group to just solo? I mean, I'm thinking of this guy David Bazan, the singer from Pedro the Lion, has this great song that's, you know, there's a line that's like, you know, fewer moving parts is fewer broken pieces. And I didn't know if that situation was happening with you, or if it's just something completely different. I was just kind of interested in this, you know, evolution of larger band to smaller to just you.
Yeah, I've never actually zoomed out to think about like how that went from like 7 to 4 to 1. Like that's
Yeah.
that's pretty weird and interesting. But I like the most simple way of explaining it is like it was started to be more of a focus on songwriting, and I felt like, especially with Whiskey Doubles, there was a moment at a gig we were doing a lot of farmers markets at that time, and somebody came up to me between the sets, and we had like 2 CDs available, and he goes up to me, like the singer, and he goes, "Okay, you guys sound great. Which one has the most cello?" I was like, "Okay, I think this one probably has a few more features, more cello-centric tracks." He's like, "Oh, good, because I want the ones with least amount of vocals." I was like, "What?" Like, and
Thanks.
it kind of like started me realizing it wasn't like, I don't blame anyone in like the band for it. It was just how I had things set up with Of the North and with Whiskey Doubles, where the sound came first. Like that was kind of what took precedence, is making making it sound good. And it didn't really matter how good or okay the songs were. And that really started to bother me. So once when we put Whiskey Doubles to bed, I definitely tried to go back to the drawing board and like make sure that every song that I am like putting out or seeing through, I try to get it to a point where I can play it by myself and it can be as equally impactful,
Yeah.
if not more so, than with the full dressing.
Yeah. So the quality is up here, whether it's stripped to the bone or full on.
And that's just had never been there before. I'd never valued that as much. It was especially if you're trying to play 3 or 4 hour gigs with all original music and not do covers.
Yeah.
Quantity matters a lot. And it feels good to churn out songs, like it feels good to like see things through and to have another one. You have another new song to learn, and you make it sound so good that it doesn't matter that it's not really resonating with anybody, let alone me. Like when you're at practice and you're just literally going through the motions and reading the spines of books as you're singing something that you wrote, like that's not going to inspire anyone. And that was where I was at.
Okay.
So I needed to take quite a few steps back and start over.
And you did. Next Paperback Hero. Where'd you come up with that name?
I at an old job, I had way too much time on my hands, and there were a couple of days where I was trying to come up with new names because for a while I was just performing as Nathan Honore, and the last name is such that when you see it on paper, it doesn't look necessarily like it sounds. It's not easy to pronounce, and it's not. I always use this example now. It's not Kaylee Conway because she's got a name where it's like that is a catchy name, and you remember it, and it's exactly how it looks, and it's
rolls off the tongue.
It rolls off the tongue.
It's got alliteration. Yeah.
It's Nathan Honore is not that. So I was trying to think of. You've been there about trying to come up with a band name, and it's it's brutal. So I was thinking about okay, what's going to feel genuine, what's going to feel like me, where this can be something that doesn't pigeonhole me as like the one dude, but it's me. Like what can work that way. I thought about Field Report. And how it's just an anagram of Chris Porterfield's last name.
Yep.
Honore does not anagram into anything. Nathan Honore, Nathan Paul Honore, it does not anagram well. So I just started to use NPH, and I started to do stream of consciousness basically, and write down every word that I liked that started with an N, a P, and an H.
Okay.
Had pages like these things, and I was doing this all at work. I'm not shy about that. I had a lot of time, and I eventually whittled it down into a couple of things, and I really wanted it to be something that felt positive, because with N, there's a lot of negative words that start with N. It's
like negative.
Exactly. It's not an S or a R, like the Wheel of Fortune letters that you can get a whole lot of words necessarily. Yeah. And so, I landed on Next Paperback Hero because it felt natural, it felt positive, it felt like something that I would feel okay with, saying this is who I am. It feels like an aspiration in a way, and it's a little bit more ambiguous, and I really like that about it, but it still feels like me because at its core, it's my initials, and using that as the jumping off point.
That's cool. Yeah, as soon as you came up with that, I liked it. The first time I saw it, books being like a second or third love for me next to music. You know, I like the concept of, you know, a paperback hero.
And I mean, paperback is my go-to. Like, if I'm gonna buy a book, I want it to be a paperback. Like,
Sure.
I simply love reading in that format. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know why. It's not like I had dozens of them growing up or anything, but there's just something about it that feels very tactile, I think.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's really cool finding older ones, especially in cover art,
Yeah.
things like that. So, well, I mean, I think you know, you've carved yourself a place in the Milwaukee music scene here with that name and with your new record. Do you got any like favorite other Milwaukee artists around here?
Yeah, Paper Holland is one that I've like. They're one that I wasn't on board with right away, but I came to in the last couple of years and have become really big fan of Galapagos. Their most recent record.
Okay.
I was a really big fan of Old Earth, but he's left Milwaukee. I think he's in Portland studying something now. But Old Earth is absolutely an all-time Milwaukee favorite.
Didn't he have like a big farewell show or something?
Yeah, he had one at Linneman's.
Linneman's,
That
okay,
was,
yeah.
and Chris Porterfield opened for that. That was a beautiful, beautiful evening. Devil Met Contention. I love their progression. Like, I really love artists that show
Yeah.
a development.
Sure.
And their last EP is it makes a lot of sense to me, and I don't think it made a lot of sense to some other people. But like, if you follow their work, there's like a through line between the writing, and there's definitely a progression there if you were paying attention. And like, I really appreciate about their work and their writing.
So they're kind of like pushing their own boundaries.
Yeah, in a really natural way. It's not like this is maybe a dated kind of example and one that didn't age too well, but like how Mumford and Sons, like their first record is very just straight up folk, like, or hipster folk or whatever you want to call it at that time. And then what they're doing on like their third record, it was like super electronic and like synth based, and it felt like so like, what the hell? Like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, no sense at all. Like, there was nothing that connected the songs. They were written in a much like more pop style versus, and not like Taylor Swift pop, but like almost like top 40 pop. It was a very interesting shift in writing. Anyways, Devil May Contention is not that. Like, theirs is, if you look at like zoom out at their work, it's really interesting and kind of inspiring the way that they've navigated the years from what they were wearing the matching suits and to what they are now. Like, they're up there. I feel like there's some really obvious ones. Kaylee Conway, Ellie Jackson.
Yeah, I love both of those.
They're
like the greatest, especially lately. They've been together, you know, writing and singing together, and you know, playing at each other's shows, and they're two of my favorites.
They were the first show that I saw. They played at Dandy.
Yep.
That was the first show I saw like since March of 2020, and they brought me to tears multiple times. So, in a good way.
When they harmonize, it's just like, oh my God,
glorious.
It is. What do you think of just in general, like Milwaukee music scene? You think it's healthy, or do you think it's comparative to, you know, a larger city, or are we kind of stuck here in this, like, between Chicago and Minneapolis?
That's a good question.
Kind of spot.
Yeah, and I know it's one that like a lot of us wrestle with, I think, and it gets brought up.
It does.
I don't know if I have a great frame of reference for what other cities are like, but in terms of what it feels like for me from being what it felt like as an outsider and like purely a fan to someone really trying to get their foot in the door, it feels like there has been progress like over the last like 5-6 years. And I think it can be much more inclusive than it appears from the outside as like a timid kind of outsider. Like I feel like there is more of a community than there used to be. Like I felt, especially over the last year, ironically, like more connection with a few of these people, and some of them have been really there for me to help me out and to talk through some steps on releasing this record, and like just giving it, general advice and encouragement. Like I never felt that before, and it always felt super competitive, and that there were these very distinct tiers, and if you weren't a part of, this upper level, like you mean nothing. But I feel like there's been a lot of progress about that, and like one of the best examples I think was like the Equinox Festival that happened down by Milwaukee Brewing Company and like the beer district down there. Like it was so many different artists, and there was a real camaraderie when I was down there. I didn't play, but I was just watching, and like on one stage, I think the lineup for a couple hours was like Paper Holland, Nile, Kaylee Conway, Immortal Girlfriend, and I'm like this, and there was just a lot of connecting between, and then like Abby Jean was playing over there, and then Classic was playing just over there.
Okay.
And it was really a beautiful just way to showcase the range and depth that the city has that I don't think it always gets credit for.
Sure. Yeah.
And like I said, there was a lot of collaboration, not like on stage necessarily, but like you could tell that people were talking, and a lot of camaraderie that was more evident than I've seen in the past. So I feel like there's progress, and I'm hopeful that I can be a part of that, and to like keep helping each other and not have it be so competitive, because we aren't like, even though I don't know much about how it feels to be in like the Chicago music scene or Nashville or whatever, like I know what it feels like to be here, and like, and it feels like it's trending in the right direction, I guess.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It's it feels pretty good here. Things feel possible here, I mean, I think there is a good community, and it feels very possible to get written up, get on the radio, play a good show, or just reach out to, whoever you might be a fan of, and, you can probably set up a show with them sometime, I think.
Right.
I think it's going good. So, and I want to congratulate you on your new album.
Thank you.
And we're gonna have you play something here real quick. But first, I want to get to the EQ. So EQ stands for Everybody Questions, and this being our first show, I'm happy you're here, Nathan. I really wanted to do this with someone that I kind of know, at least. It's been, I don't know what I'm doing, really. We're just kind of winging everything, and, we got Casey on board to run the cameras, and Rob running sound, and I want to thank you guys, too, for doing this and making this happen. And, thank you again for helping me feel more comfortable trying to do this thing. And I hope to do it many more times. And this little thing is something I want to do for any guest I might have on here. The questions will stay the same. You don't need to justify them or comment on them if you don't want to at all. Just, 10 questions
Okay.
that I will ask everyone on this show.
Right on.
So, what's your favorite Milwaukee venue to play?
I'll say Linneman's. It's just, it's one of the few like listening rooms, and
Yeah.
that, as a songwriter, that feels really good. And to have Jim there to
Yeah.
oversee things and really make your art feel valued feels great.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
We just played there in December, and I was actually on stage thanking Jim for everything he's got in place there already. That's all set up for artists.
Yeah.
That, you play in a lot of places, you'll start to see everything break down eventually, and there's nothing for you. You might have to do everything yourself. And Jim does everything for you.
Yeah.
And that's a great venue. He's a great guy. What's your favorite Milwaukee bar?
That's a good question. Because do breweries count?
Sure.
Cause
Why not?
I don't go to. I tend to go out to go and have a drink. It's usually to like a brewery that has like the tap room. Enlightened has been a favorite for a long time. Even their old space.
Yeah.
But their new space feels, even though it's significantly bigger, it feels very welcoming, and I love Kettle Logic on tap. There's very little things better than that in the city.
Yeah, it's rare to see a place jump from their old size to the new size. That was a huge jump.
Yeah.
How about your favorite Milwaukee restaurant?
Let's see. Say Y East Pizza.
Pizza?
Yeah. They became kind of like, they were, for a long time, they were our special event kind of pizza.
Yeah.
Like one where you treat yourself a little bit.
Yeah.
But during like the pandemic, they've become like our every Friday night, and that's been like such a bright spot through however feeling any week. Like to know that you're getting Y East on that Friday night is it's a good thing. It kind of like you can breathe at your Y East.
It is a good thing. How about what's your favorite music movie or documentary?
Whew. That's wow.
There's a lot out there.
Yeah, I'm trying to go through like the Rolodex real quick and what I've watched lately, and if anything that's really jumping out. I have to go back in the time machine and just say Hard Day's Night, the Beatles. Like I used to rent that from the library, the VHS tape, like every week, and like try to do that, and it was like, oh man, this is what being in a band is like. This is amazing.
What being in that band is like.
Like palling around with your friends and just goofing off and playing great music. So I'll go with that, even though I think like if like go into documentary land, the Run Down a Dream, the Tom Petty doc was real good. Sure. I enjoyed that a lot.
Yeah, me too. It was good. Your instruments, got any nicknames for any of them?
I don't anymore. I used to when I was in high school. Like I always named my guitars, but I haven't named anything that I have right now.
Bring one back from the dead. What'd you have?
They're just lame, like girls' names, like for whatever reason. Like I think Jess was one, and I don't know why. I thought it was a nice name, and I have no idea why. But maybe that's why I stopped. So like it doesn't make any sense. I don't know.
How about a song that you wish you wrote?
That is wow. That is a really tough one. I'm curious to see how other people do with these these couple here in particular. I'll say Needle in the Hay.
Okay.
Elliott Smith. That's one that has stuck with me for a long, long time. I first heard it in Royal Tenenbaum's soundtrack.
Sure. Yeah. It's a great song.
that's what unlocked Elliott Smith for me, and it never ceases to make me emotional. But it's like a quiet kind of power that song has.
Yeah. That Elliott has.
Like harsh beautifulness. Like he has that kind of duality in the way he presents his music that I really love. So
Yeah.
I definitely, if that could be a Next Paperback Hero song, I'd be like, oh man, he did it.
All right. If you could drop everything and join a band, what band would that be?
Let's see. I guess I'll just say the National because like there's so many things that are happening in that band. I feel like I could squeeze in there and nobody would notice, and I could just go along for the ride instead of like there's something to be said for not being the guy, the person running the thing.
Yeah.
Not in charge of the show.
I get that.
So they've had so many, like their lineup right now or that they had on their last tour. I think that probably had like 9 people. And
oh wow.
Like, maybe just one more. I could do that. Like
might as well make it an even 10.
Yeah. Like why not? I can add to the kind of colors that they've got going on there.
All right.
That'd be a good time. Plus they're older than me, so they're like not partying too hard and anything like that because I'm too old for that garbage.
How about an artist you'd really like to collaborate with?
Like living?
Yeah, let's keep it in the realm of the living.
Say Bryce Desner, I think. He's part of the National as well, but he's part of Big Red Machine with Justin Vernon.
Okay.
And he co-wrote, I hope I have the right Desner, because there's Bryce and Aaron and they're twins, and I'm pretty sure it's Bryce. But I'm pretty sure he co-wrote and produced like a bunch of Taylor Swift's new stuff. Not that I'm a huge Taylor Swift fan, but he just seems to have this collaborative energy around him that's really interesting and that people seem to be drawn to, and that works for a lot of people to make some really emotionally authentic and like a little left of center. Like it's not like obvious that this is a song that's going to hit you.
Sure.
Like, I feel a lot of the stuff that he's involved with, it has room to grow. Like there's on first listen you're going to enjoy it, but you're going to want to come back and you want to keep discovering layers, whether that be lyrically or sonically. Yeah, I think he's got a real talent for collaboration. So I'm really hitting the National train here.
That's
Maybe
all right.
they'll see this.
That's all right. Yeah. So a lot of artists I've met and talked to or whatnot, they've got, some other talent besides what their main thing is, or a creative endeavor or a big hobby or something. You got anything like that besides the music?
Yeah, probably not. Like it's most of what I do in terms of like creative energy is poured into music in one way or another. I do like to build Legos though.
Yeah.
That's something I brought back in pandemic land
Yeah.
a bit more.
Yeah.
Taking apart old ones and putting them back together.
That's cool. I just got the Fender guitar Lego
Nice.
with the little amp next to it. Yeah, I haven't built it yet, but it's sitting upstairs.
Wait for February and
Yeah.
it's good for this.
Last question. if you could change like one thing about the music industry as it exists right now, what would that be?
I think the one that would help the most people is changing how artists are compensated for streaming in particular. I feel like that, like there's a lot of things that need to be changed, and a lot of things that are being worked on, but that one just feels like we're just gonna let that keep going and you make fractions of pennies. Like that's like things are still the same as they were 10, 15 years ago. Like there could be some substantial reform on how artists are compensated in that way. I think it would go a long way for artists of every genre, every type, every level. You know, I think that would have a huge impact. So that's probably the most far-reaching thing that I would hope for.
Yeah, completely agree. Well, we can always hope something gets figured out.
Yeah.
In the meantime, we will just keep doing what we do, and for the love.
Keep making art.
Got to keep making art. Just do it. Well, that's all my EQs, and I know you've got a video coming out this month, right?
Yep.
What song is that for?
It'll be the closing track, Don't Take My Energy.
Don't Take My Energy?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have a date set for it, or?
Yeah, I think it's Tuesday, January 25th. The video is by Joe Ludwig, who's done some stuff for Fuzzy Surf, Paper Holland. I think he did the most recent, like, Miles Coin video as well. He's a very generous, kind, and very creative guy, and I was really happy with how things are looking and to work with him.
Cool. Well, I look forward to watching that.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you, Nathan.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for watching episode 1 of Chords on Fire here in Milwaukee. And we're going to have Next Paperback Hero transition to right over there real quick, and we'll get a song. What song are you going to play?
Don't Take My Energy.
Don't Take My Energy, all right. So, thank you so much. Hopefully there will be an episode 2. And thank you, Rob. Thank you, Casey. And
thank you, guys.
Thank you again, Nathan.
Thank you.
All right. Let's move the cameras.
Sun is shining for the first time today. In 3 days, nothing but pouring rain. The doubt and cloud of yesterday fade away. I can't stay, I won't be detained. Don't take my energy away from me. Don't take my energy away from me. Different morning, different story, different season. The cold to stain had me reeling in. All of the lines I set outside to stop my demons. Darkness deepens, but I won't let them in. Don't take my energy away from me. Don't take my energy away from me. Feeling heavy again tonight. Breaking bottles, drowning sorrows in Milwaukee again. The well is empty and my heart is feeling heavy again tonight. Breaking bottles, drowning sorrows in Milwaukee again tonight. till I see the light, till I see the light. Sun is shining for the first time today. In 3 days, nothing but pouring rain. The doubt and cloud of yesterday fade away. I can't stay, no, I won't be detained. Don't take my energy away from me. Don't take my energy away from me.
Great job, Nathan.
Thank you.
Thanks for being on the show. Thank you, everyone, for watching Chords on Fire, episode number 1. I'm your host, Tyson Allison. You can follow us on YouTube, Instagram, subscribe. And Nathan's got a show coming up at the end of January. It's January 28th at Anodyne in Walker's Point. 8 p.m., I believe. $8 for tickets in advance, 10 at the door. And who's on the bill with you that night?
Jorge Valentine and Anya Elise are the other acts on that.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Rob and Casey. All right. Have a good night, everyone.
Sun is shining for the first time today. In 3 days, nothing but pouring rain. The doubt and cloud of yesterday fade away. I can't stay, no, I won't be detained. Don't take my energy away from me. Don't take my energy away from me.